All right, in this video, we're gonna be doing kind of a summer's worth of miscellaneous projects with the mini excavator. Got a lot of little projects on my to-do list I wanna do. The first one here is on a property that we store some of our equipment that we aren't using, like during the off season. I need to pull out these two posts. There was an old small hog building here in the past. This is well water. This hydrant's connected to well water. It's busted underground, so when you are trying to use other hydrants on this property, this one leaks and becomes a pond in like 2 minutes. So we got to dig it out, find where it leaks. I think it's somewhere back here, and then water can be used on this property. There's other hydrants besides this one, and to use the hydrants, they're all on well. So when you flip on the pump for the well, there's a leak here, so this thing's just gonna go. Then there's a couple hog feeders that I'm just cleaning. There's 2 of these. Just cleaning this place up so you can park on the concrete. All right, first thing we'll do is get these posts up out of the ground. Get this place kind of cleaned up and opened up. Then I recently just bought a 12-inch trenching bucket with teeth. Kind of figured if you ever like trying to bust up concrete or rip out a tree, if you're trying to bury like electric wire or you just want a small trench, kind of thought it would be handy.
So once we dug down to the base of the hydrant, I could see the water line and see what we're working with. For the first little bit here, it was actually plastic poly pipe, but as I dug more, found a couple T's. I kept going a little bit more here and found the galvanized water line.
All right, here's the moment of truth. Water line, there's some connections, then it goes to steel from plastic. So we're gonna turn on the well, see where it bubbles up at.
Oh, there's a float.
Here's a little update on the project. I had to run to a dentist appointment, so it's a few hours later now. We had the sump pump going, but then it was kind of acting weird. I'm gonna see if I can get it working again. And then you can tell that our trench is below the water line. Some more water is seeped in. We'll need to suck it out so then we can make our proper connections and not be messing around in there. And then we have an elbow. There's water that goes to a shed back there.
With the water starting to drain down, I was able to get our connections made here, disconnected the old water line, and just simplified things, took out a few connections that were unnecessary now. And once all the connections cool down, I can flip on the pump and see if it works.
All right, it ended up not working. So we made our connection here, we were done, everything, and then we did a pressure test. And right where the shovel is right there, there's a leak in the galvanized pipe here. This is 1-inch galvanized, and so we need to cut it right where the rock is. And then, I've never done this before, but go galvanize to the plastic or poly. It's really rusted and old. This is what we are going to do. So imagine my finger is galvanized. This is gonna go over. Galvanized is gonna come in this way, and then this will be our barb for the poly. So we'll see if this works to go over the galvanized. We're sanding it down right now. So for reference, this is what the galvanized looks like. It's kind of rusted out and pitted and stuff, so hopefully this will work. All right, here is our, so galvanized 1-inch coming. Here's the plastic connection I was showing you. Here's our adapter to get us to a copper barb or brass barb. Then 1-inch poly all the way, and it reduces down to a 3/4 inch to go somewhere else. So the well's on right now. We're gonna leave it and we're pressure testing it right now. There is groundwater filling this hole, so we'll have to, when we check it, we need to make sure that this is on every once in a while, so then it doesn't get submerged in water and we can't tell if it's barely leaking. So right now it's good. We'll keep checking it before we backfill it to 100% guarantee it's not leaking. All right, it's been about 20-30 minutes. We made the connection. Nothing is leaking. I'm still pressure testing it. While I'm killing some time, I'm gonna clean up this concrete. This is, yeah, I'm not gonna backfill with this. And I have a spot for this to go. All right, I got it backfilled and leveled here, and we'll let this settle for a few weeks, get a rain on it, and rock it here in a month or so. It'll be really nice now that this is fixed, because to use water, you had to flip on the well on and off. Now you don't, it's on right now. And there you go. So, well's on, it's not leaking. All the other hydrants work, so cool. Now we're gonna haul that concrete down to my Missouri crossing, and got a few other projects to do. Right, that worked good. A couple more big pieces. I don't know if it would have lifted it. Sounded like it was working pretty hard. The next project we're working on is pretty simple. Shouldn't take too long. This is where we have our shed. I buried a water line here last fall, and then there's a grain bin here, and there's this concrete pad that just wanting to remove. There's a footing that I think we'll run. I'll try and see if I can get that out. Maybe scratch and see if I can get this. You just hit it with the mower. It's kind of in the way. Just trying to kind of clean up the area. There's no reason to have this here anymore. Got a dump truck load of rock this morning, and gonna rock this. Is where you come with semi unload out of here. So this bin gets used every year, and I'll take this concrete and we'll go dump it again, and then maybe just there's gonna be probably a big kind of belly that will sit with water, so kind of grade out this curve and make it nice and smooth. And then I got my concrete saw, and I might make a nice clean line right here. All right, I think, yeah, that was footing here, and then not really thick pieces of concrete here, and just grass is growing over it. So probably gonna kind of just deem. I'm taking all this out. There was a little more concrete here than I thought there would be and stuff, but there was a good footing. Took that out. I don't want to ever overload this because it's a pain in the butt to get it empty if it won't lift. And these things aren't super strong lifting. It's a scissor lift, so they just aren't as strong. We just got a few mile drive and we'll go dump this. Probably take 2 or 3 loads today. Got this graded out and filled in, has a nice slope down, and then I will get some grass seed on here, and then got this rocked in. This was just kind of bare dirt and wasn't gonna grow any grass, and just kind of pulled the same line to here. So, all right, dumping the second and last load. This one is a lot more weight, so I always try and load it on the back though. Tire squat a lot more, but it's 50-50 if it lifts it, is my prediction. All right, that didn't work. It's not the end of the world. This is our last load, and I wanted to bring a skid steer mini excavator down and tidy this up anyway. I risked it, overloaded it, that's fine. I'll unhook and I'll come back with the mini maybe tomorrow or the next day. All right, we're getting it seated down. Got a straw bale, we'll spread some straw. End of July, there's rain in a couple days. Think it'll grow?
I hope so.
All right, now we're about 2 weeks after we finished this project, and we had a nice late July rain and now a couple in early August here, and this is coming up really good. So straw worked really nice, kind of protecting it. You can see where more straw, like this area, the better germination you had. Now here's the spot 3 weeks after. This looks really nice. I let it grow pretty tall here, get our first cut. I think I watered it once for just a day to keep it a little bit wet. Didn't even need to do that. And it came up so well. So it just feels good when you seed grass down end of July, early August, and you don't have to water it at all, and it germinates perfectly. It's just like, it's pretty lucky is what I'm saying. Usually you got to fight to kind of keep it wet. There's a 10-day stretch of no rain, 90 degrees in July or August. This turned out perfect, so. All right, now we're on to the next project. All right, here's a project that I just finished up that I didn't film like any of it. This is just the final product. But the issue here was a lot of flooding and just not proper surface drainage. So there's a 12-inch tile down there, and this was kind of like this, just made it deeper so water would flow. This was already a kind of a swale. You know, we actually got the laser out and made everything proper slope. And then this here was like a really old culvert that we pulled out. Wasn't working at all. The water wouldn't flow from here uphill, and it backed up. The water would flood this parking lot up here and cause a bunch of issues. There was like knee-high water there for a few days. So quite a bit of moving dirt and getting this slope. It's about a 220-foot run from what we were grading, and we ran it on like a 0.1% slope. So we had about 22 inches of fall from that point to up here. But we now had the trailer for about 3 months. Been using it quite a bit this summer, and has came in handy a lot. It is so much safer pulling. It just feels more comfortable pulling with a gooseneck when you're hauling equipment. This project turned out pretty good, and now we are gonna go work on some other things on the to-do list. All right, I got some time in between our next project, and I wanna get these jacks up. So I assume when you buy it, bought it brand new, they just have it set all the way down, and I wanna raise it up to this hole. So it'll go up 6 inches, be 2 inches below. This is a step, and we got toolbox there too that I don't wanna rub on. And if we are gonna rub on something, when you're pulling through a field or a crappy field entrance, steep, I want it to run on these jacks first and kind of skid on the ground before it tears this up is the idea. There she goes. All right, that was a little heavy. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but we got it. All right, we will test it out. Did have to take off hoses on that jack right here to get it. So they do have to go another 6 inches down now versus what they did, but they're 6 inches out of the way as well from scraping the ground. There we go, picking up the truck. Just a little bit of hydraulic fluid there when undoing the hoses, not much, so we should be good. Works really nice. All right, I was doing a run to the scrapyard with the dump trailer, and then they are tearing up this creek, all the trees and stuff, and this is a bunch of old steel that was sitting in the trees essentially. So it's supposed to be the company who's tearing down these trees problem to get this out of here, but you know, it's kind of one of the things, if you want it done, just do it yourself kind of thing. So it's gonna spend an hour or two here and get this. It's pretty mixed in here. That's part of the problem. Since I'm taking a run to the scrapyard, I thought might as well do it. Yeah, there's just kind of a junk pile back here, and then it all got uprooted essentially. All right, we got it loaded. This is gonna be a pretty big load, so I hope it dumps. That's my worry, but I wonder how heavy this is.
So that load was right at 4,000 pounds of scrap metal, and I got a check for about $250 for that load. So pretty cool. Never been to scrapyard before.
All right, and then the last project we did, I didn't film any of it. It was a day project here that we got done at Adams. Last year we dug a 300-foot water line, put in 2 hydrants here last fall, and then we came back to this project. We teed into the water line right here, and then he's putting I think it's called a Ritchie waterer, or one that essentially it's a water that has power to it. Keeps the water from freezing during the winter. So he's got one over there that water the cattle with. Put another one right here. And so we ran power as well over to the building and get it wired up. Everything's backfilled, pressure tested, no leaks. He's gonna rock all this and stuff. So it was a project to do before fall time and winter time and get this rocked. And then this is the last thing we did, teed into the water line and did one more hydrant right here. So this is the last one that we did. Thank you guys for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.